Welcome back to America Report TV, where we break down the biggest stories, the most surprising moments, and the behind-the-scenes drama shaping entertainment, culture, and the world of television. If you're new here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss the stories that everyone will be talking about tomorrow. Today's episode is one of the wildest we've ever covered, because we are diving into the explosive clash between Mark Wahlberg and George Stephanopoulos that ended with Wahlberg being escorted off the set of Good Morning America. What started as a routine celebrity interview turned into one of the most unexpected live TV confrontations in recent memory. And we have every detail, every moment, and every piece of context that led to the showdown. The story begins early yesterday morning. The energy at the Good Morning America studio was completely normal, with the staff preparing for a packed show. Wahlberg was scheduled to appear to promote his latest film, a dramatic thriller that had already been generating buzz for its intense themes and Wahlberg's physical transformation for the role. Producers expected a smooth, upbeat conversation about filmmaking, dedication, and Wahlberg's well-known discipline. But from the moment he arrived backstage, things were not as calm as they appeared on-screen. Crew members later shared, off the record, that Wahlberg seemed tense, distracted, and unusually quiet. Normally he exchanges jokes and warms up with the behind-the-scenes team, but this time, he reportedly kept to himself, scrolling through his phone and muttering under his breath. One staff member said he looked like someone who had already been dealing with stress long before he stepped into the studio. George Stephanopoulos, on the other hand, was in a polished, professional mood, preparing his notes and adjusting the direction of the conversation he intended to guide. People who work with him say he likes to be well prepared for every interview, even the ones expected to be lighthearted. And this is where the first seeds of tension were planted, because Stephanopoulos had added several questions to his card that Wahlberg had not been prepped for in advance. When the segment began, everything seemed normal. Stephanopoulos introduced Wahlberg with his usual warm tone, mentioning the film and highlighting Wahlberg's impressive commitment as an actor. Wahlberg smiled politely but didn't show the usual charisma he brings to daytime interviews. George dove into the first few questions, and at first, Wahlberg handled them smoothly. They talked about the training regimen, the emotional challenges of playing his character, and the excitement of releasing a film with such heavy themes. But then Stephanopoulos shifted gears. Instead of continuing with promotional questions, he brought up a viral clip from Wahlberg's recent press conference in which the actor snapped at a reporter who questioned his approach to the character. The clip had been circulating online, with mixed reactions. Some viewers defended Wahlberg, saying the reporter had been disrespectful. Others argued Wahlberg had overreacted. Stephanopoulos asked him about that moment live on air, pressing gently at first, then more directly. Wahlberg's expression tightened, and he asked why they were discussing the clip when the press conference had already been clarified earlier that week. George insisted the subject was relevant because it raised questions about the film's message and Wahlberg's interpretation of it. Wahlberg, visibly irritated, responded with a short, clipped answer. His discomfort was noticeable enough that even the studio audience shifted in their seats. Trying to regain control of the conversation, Stephanopoulos moved to another unexpected topic. He referenced Wahlberg's comments from a previous interview, where Wahlberg had expressed frustration about Hollywood culture becoming overly critical and political. George pushed him to elaborate, questioning whether Wahlberg believed he was being misunderstood, or whether he felt he was part of that cultural shift himself. Wahlberg took a deep breath and attempted to keep his response neutral, but he slipped into a sharper tone. He said that sometimes people in the media focus too much on finding controversy where none exists. Stephanopoulos countered by saying that public commentary, especially from influential figures, naturally invites scrutiny, and he asked whether Wahlberg believed he was exempt from that dynamic. This was the moment where the atmosphere changed from slightly tense to unmistakably confrontational. Off-camera, crew members felt the shift immediately. You could practically feel the temperature drop as Wahlberg stared back at Stephanopoulos, narrowing his eyes before leaning forward. He told George that the segment was supposed to be about his work, not a trial of his character. Stephanopoulos stayed calm, but his tone became firmer as he responded that interviews often include context beyond promotional talking points. Wahlberg fired back that mutual respect should be part of interviews as well. The studio fell silent. Viewers watching live had no idea just how tense things were becoming behind the scenes. Producers frantically signaled to the control booth, unsure whether to cut to break or let the conversation play out. The delay in decision-making allowed the tension to escalate even further. Stephanopoulos asked another pointed question, this time referencing Wahlberg's earlier comments about discipline, responsibility, and being a role model. He asked whether Wahlberg believed his behavior at the press conference aligned with that image. That was the breaking point. Wahlberg leaned back, scoffing audibly, and responded with a sarcastic remark asking whether Stephanopoulos was trying to give him a lecture on morality. George maintained his composure but reminded him that being in the public eye means accountability. Wahlberg replied that accountability works both ways, suggesting that certain interviewers twist narratives to boost ratings. The studio crew knew things had gone too far. Before Stephanopoulos could respond, Wahlberg removed his microphone and said he was done. George, keeping his professional stance, attempted to bring the segment to a calm close, but Wahlberg cut him off, saying that if shows wanted honest conversations, they shouldn't ambush their guests. Stephanopoulos insisted no ambush had taken place and that all questions were part of a broader discussion. Wahlberg shook his head, stepped up from his chair, and said the interview was over. Producers rushed in, trying to defuse the situation, but Wahlberg's frustration had reached a peak. One camera caught him pointing toward Stephanopoulos and saying something that viewers couldn't hear clearly due to the microphone being off, but those near the stage claimed he said, "This is why people don't trust the media anymore." Audiences watching at home saw the broadcast abruptly cut to commercial, but in the studio, things escalated further. Security wasn't called because Wahlberg was physically aggressive, he wasn't. He wasn't shouting, and he wasn't destroying anything. But producers asked the floor team to escort him out simply to regain control of the environment. According to people backstage, Wahlberg wasn't resisting, he just looked exhausted and frustrated, shaking his head as he walked out with a staff member by his side. Stephanopoulos remained at the desk, maintaining a professional composure, but the look on his face said everything. When the show returned from commercial break, he delivered a brief, carefully worded message explaining that the interview had ended early due to unexpected complications, and then smoothly transitioned into the next segment as though nothing had happened. But the internet noticed immediately. Clips began circulating on social media within minutes of the broadcast. Although the altercation wasn't fully visible on air, viewers picked up on Wahlberg's sudden exit, the cut to commercial, and Stephanopoulos' composed yet tense demeanor. Twitter erupted first, followed by YouTube clips, TikTok breakdowns, and Reddit threads analyzing every second of the segment. Some fans defended Wahlberg, saying Stephanopoulos was too aggressive in his questioning. Others criticized Wahlberg for being overly sensitive and unprofessional. The debate grew quickly, with hashtags trending across multiple platforms. Within hours, representatives for both Wahlberg and ABC released short, carefully crafted statements. Wahlberg's team said he values open conversations but expects respect and transparency during interviews. They stated he walked off because the questions strayed into areas he had not agreed to discuss. Meanwhile, ABC's statement defended Stephanopoulos and the editorial decisions behind the interview, highlighting that journalists have a responsibility to ask meaningful questions, even when they challenge the interviewee. But the controversy didn't stop there. Entertainment analysts and talk show hosts across networks weighed in. Morning shows debated who was at fault. Some argued that Wahlberg's increasingly guarded behavior during press tours had been building toward a moment like this. Others suggested Stephanopoulos could have taken a softer approach, given the promotional nature of the appearance. Media ethicists even joined the conversation, questioning whether daytime TV sometimes blurs the line between journalism and entertainment. Behind the scenes, people close to Wahlberg said he felt blindsided, believing the interview was intentionally steered toward the viral controversy to generate headlines. Sources near the GMA production side insisted the questions were fair, relevant, and part of responsible journalism. Both sides stood firm, and neither appeared eager to apologize. But what makes this story even more fascinating is what happened after Wahlberg left the building. According to insiders, Wahlberg called his team as soon as he got into his car. He was upset, but not out of control, more disappointed than angry. He reportedly said he's tired of walking into interviews expecting to talk about his work only to face criticism or rehashed controversies. Meanwhile, back at ABC, executives held an immediate post-show meeting to review what happened. While they backed Stephanopoulos, they also discussed how to prevent future on-air confrontations from spiraling into chaos. Fans of Wahlberg continue to rally around him online, saying the entertainment industry is becoming too harsh, too polarized, and too eager to create drama. Supporters of Stephanopoulos argue he was simply doing his job, asking relevant questions in a professional manner. And then there's the growing discussion about how public figures and journalists navigate increasingly tense cultural climates. As of today, neither Wahlberg nor Stephanopoulos has issued a new statement. Both are staying quiet, likely waiting for the noise to die down. But insiders say this moment may shape future interviews for both men. Wahlberg may begin insisting on stricter pre-interview agreements. Stephanopoulos may face pressure to balance tough questions with the lighter tone expected from morning television. And ABC will likely revisit its protocols for managing heated exchanges on air. The clash between Wahlberg and Stephanopoulos isn't just a celebrity moment, it's a reflection of how quickly conversations can escalate in today's environment, how sensitive public perception has become, and how even seasoned professionals can find themselves caught in unexpected confrontations. Whether you side with Wahlberg, Stephanopoulos, or land somewhere in the middle, the incident raises important questions about media expectations, personal boundaries, and the changing landscape of public dialogue. This story is still developing, and as more details emerge, we'll be here to break them down. Let us know in the comments what you think. Was Stephanopoulos too confrontational? Did Wahlberg overreact? Or was this simply a perfect storm of miscommunication, timing, and tension? Thanks for watching America Report TV. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you stay updated on the stories that matter. We'll see you in the next report.